Hey guys, it's Nicole. Today I am going to be working on a layout that is part of a class that I paid for through SCT, which is Scrapbooking. What's the name of that magazine? Scrapbooking Cards and Today or Trends? Something like that. Anyways, it's SCT magazine. And it was a year-long class and they give you sketches for, I think, a double, and then you have the option to make a single page layout. And the sketches are done through page maps, and I can't actually share the sketch on camera just because it is a paid for class. So I'm gonna start working on my layout for the sketch, which is a double. I'm not sure if I'm just so used to working with scrapbook generation sketches that I'm just kind of having like a mental block as far as I'm not getting like immediate ideas of like, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to use, this is where we're going to go, and like boom, 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 boom. And we're just going to ignore that for now. And I just, because I think I wasn't that motivated by the sketch, like I typically am with different style sketches, I pulled out my bin of pre-printed photos and I decided to try to find something from there instead of going through everything that I already had. And so I found these and I'm hoping that they're going to work. Part of the sketch does have a sort of a three by four photos kind of stacked together. I only have enough for two, so I think what I'm going to do is cut these down to 3 by 3 and then get a 3 by 3 square right here. And I think you guys are going to be seeing these videos a little bit out of order of when I've actually done the layouts, but I just got done doing January's monthly celebration layout, and I used Simple Stories Hello Baby, the first one, that collection, and so I kind of already have everything sort of out. So that was kind of a secondary reason for why I chose to go with these photos. I had some splash pad photos that I kind of wanted to use, but when I was laying out the photos and trying to figure out the configuration, I had more photos than what the sketch sort of allowed for, and for whatever reason I find it a little bit more difficult to add in photos on a page map sketch, and that could just be because I don't use them very often. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit more information before I get going on the layout. So I'm going to go ahead and start pulling papers, kick this one out, and get going. Alright guys, so as usual, to get started, I go ahead and trim down my photos to the sizes depicted in the sketch. And there was kind of this running theme during this whole process for this layout, and I think that was mostly because these sketches are not necessarily in my wheelhouse. I think I've used a couple page maps sketches before. For whatever reason, there's just kind of this creative mental block that I get when I'm looking at them, and it's one of those things that I really have to work through. But I did notice that by having to work through them, that I was sort of settling into the closest thing that I could call to be my own personal style. If you guys have watched my channel for a while, you guys know that I like to do scrap lifts. I like to do like layout kits where they've already been pre-designed and stuff like that. I kind of have different things that I like to do, but I don't have one of these typical styles. Like there's a couple channels that I watch on YouTube and stuff where if I just saw a layout posted in a gallery, I could probably tell you who made that layout if it's one of the people that I watch on YouTube and stuff like that, because they do have a distinct personal style and they do their own thing for the most part. I don't remember where I was going with this, but pretty much this sketch just was not, I don't know, it just wasn't in my wheelhouse, and it wasn't one of those sketches where sometimes you'll look at a sketch and you kind of instantly get ideas of what photos you want to use, or a paper line, or a technique that you want to do. Just, you kind of start almost building the layout in your mind while looking at the sketch, and for me that was not, it just was not happening. And so I had to just kind of baby step my way through it. And typically I will not go this far with laying out my different elements to kind of figure out if things are going to work, just because I could not visualize the end result without constantly having to lay things out. So it was just kind of a different process, and I don't know, everything was just kind of different. It wasn't bad or anything. It was just kind of funny as I was doing it, and then even when I was editing the video, just kind of noticing differences that I was doing. And those differences were things that I tend to either add to page kits or things that I've just kind of done for years. And I think that those are small pieces of my own personal style that kind of come through. And for whatever reason, these types of sketches, it just somehow comes through a little bit more. And I've used, like, pretty much my go-to sketches are Scrapbook Generation ones, and I think it's primarily because I have used them for so much, and I do like the sort of wallpapering of the photos and the papers and stuff like that. That's just a look that I personally like. Years ago, I was on a sketch design team for, it was like a sketch blog, and it was called Nuts About Sketches, and the girl's name was Sean, who designed the sketches, and she would always like hand draw them. And for whatever reason, because they were hand drawn, it didn't give me this like mental block like these page maps ones have done so far. And I think it's because she did them like freehand, it wasn't so noticeable as far as maybe what she intended the layout to look like. The page map sketches are, I mean, they're really well designed and everything. They're just very precise, I guess, and like very detailed. And so I think it's hard for me to sort of change them up and step back from them when they are that detailed. It almost looks like a digital layout kind of. But anyways, I ended up working through it. I got it figured out, and I ended up loving the end result, which was good. It just kind of took me maybe a different route from start to finish. And like even here, you can see I'm still laying things out. I think a big thing that helped me was this Hello Baby collection is probably my all-time favorite collection, and I have a ton of it, and I do enjoy scrapping within a collection. So those were kind of things that I could rely on. It was a manufacturer that I love. It was a collection that I love, a collection that I know. I had just used it on a previous layout. You guys will actually see it later. The videos are going to be out of order due to deadlines and stuff. But I think that was sort of a comfort level that I could kind of rest back on. And then inking the edges was another thing that I enjoy doing. And instead of going with my typical brown, I kind of just took cues from the collection and ended up going with a gray instead. And then I did deviate a tiny bit from the sketch with some of the border strips and stuff. I kind of like to fill in a little bit more of the white space on the edges if I can, and that's just something that, you know, I personally like to do. Even this little blue ruler strip kind of sticks out and doesn't line up, and that was just something that I wanted to do just because, I don't know, it was just all these background layers that didn't line up, and I'm used to them lining up. So in my mind, it made more sense to have them continue to not line up, which that's probably not clear, but whatever. I went ahead and cut out the part. I just didn't even record it. I was having a hard time liking the way my photos were looking on the layout. So an easy solution to that is to just matte them. And so I just got some cheap white cardstock that I keep specifically for matting, and I inked the mattes with the gray ink as well. And then the two 6x4 photos on the left and then the two larger photos on the right, I went ahead and matted them as one piece together because that's just something that I like the look of. I like working with it when it's one piece like that, especially over here on the right where I'm gonna sort of have this really big cluster with the journaling and stuff. I didn't want to have that gap between the photos where you would see the different things that I was tucking in. Okay, then this banner. Okay, for some reason, if there is a banner on a sketch, I will either not do it, change it to something else, like avoid it at all costs. I don't know if I just don't like the look of them or I don't like the process of building them. I don't know what it is. It's just one of those things where, like, if you've ever seen that Chris Evans interview, it's like, I don't like it. I don't like it. And so I think that was another thing where I just kind of kept putting off starting this layout because I knew that I wanted to challenge myself to do the banner. And thank God one of my friends, Alyssa,
is also taking the class, and she already did her single page layout for this class and her double, posted them in the class Facebook group and everything. And she did one, her double was like when they took their son to a baseball game or something. It was very baseball themed. And her banner was amazing. Like, there was so much, like, I don't know, there was a lot of stuff, but it looked cohesive, and it was just one of those things, and I kept zooming in, and I kept trying to, like, I want my banner to look like hers. Mine does not look like hers, but I used her layout as a guide for how to do my banner instead of looking at the sketch or even the sample that was provided in the class. And there's some things that I'd like to change about it, but everything's already glued on there, and I'm going with it, and I'm reasonably happy with how it turned out. I did find it a little bit easier trying to tie some bows to have it be the right length, was just to cut it and make them meet behind one of these little chipboard banners, which was another thing that I got really lucky with. I just did not want to sit there and try to cut out banners and make my own and have them not look like weird flat pieces of paper just kind of hanging out. I don't know, it was just one of those things where it was like, I wanted it to be somewhat prominent, and so I got lucky going through the chipboard that there was these banner letters that spelled out love. And I think, I don't buy chipboard that often, but I feel like every time I do see chipboard in a collection, they include banners, so that kind of makes sense to me that that's probably what people have been using, but whatever. From there, I continued to struggle through this banner, and I was just trying to find like little tiny bits and pieces to just throw all over this thing and just kind of make it look more fun. I was a little sad, and I still used them, but I was kind of sad to see that the brads that came with this collection, they have like a little circle of pattern paper and then like an epoxy thing that sits on top, and the epoxy on them is yellowing, which just kind of makes me mad that it's like you spend, you know, $6 or $7 on some brads and they start yellowing before you've even used barely any of the package. So I picked two that you couldn't really tell that bad that they were yellowing, and they were the floral patterns. And with this particular Simple Stories collection, you could kind of go different themes within that collection. Like, some of the stuff is more floral, some of it is very like heart-based or stars or animals, that kind of thing. So as I was picking stuff, was leaning more towards the florals. And then once I did like the chipboard and the brads, I just went to the 12x12 sticker sheet and just started looking at some of the tiny stickers. And there was two tiny little tag shapes, and so I just kind of made those into little tiny banner shapes. My enamel dots are almost gone, especially after this layout, and I have like none of the tiny sizes, so it was a little like, I don't know. I wanted the tiny ones and I didn't have any, and I don't really have any like pastel nouveau drops, so now I feel like I have more stuff on like a shopping list when I'm trying not to shop. So there's that. Again, I have mentioned this die cut in previous videos. It's super old from My Favorite Things. It's basically a 3x4 notebook die, and so a lot of times if I'm using 3x4 cards, I will use it on that to give it more interest. And I like things like tabs and notebook edge and like office looking things, so that die lives on my desk and I use it all the time. And I get asked about it all the time, and unfortunately it's retired and it's super old, so if you ever see one in like a Facebook D-stash group, I would snag it up there. Otherwise, like these, I'm tucking behind stuff, and 9 times out of 10 that's what I'm using this for, is I'm tucking it somewhere. You could really easily just get a notebook border punch along the top, and it's pretty much the same thing. I did run my journaling through on one of the 3x4 cards. And then I'm going back through basically everything that I have, the stickers, die cuts, different stuff, and just trying to find things that I like the look of. I feel like building clusters is not my natural like inclination. I have to really kind of try things and sort of think about it, and it's just not one of those things that I don't know. It's one of those things I just kind of wing it. And a lot of times I like, I love when you watch somebody do a process video and their clusters make sense and they sort of have like common colors or common items throughout their clusters. I feel like I don't do that because I don't think about it. I literally just look at each separate cluster as like a separate thing and make it look the way that I want it to look, and I'm not really paying attention to, oh, I used this in this cluster, or I used this in this one. So by the time I got done with this one, I just tried to make sure that I think enamel dots was like the only thing that was sort of going throughout all of them, and maybe like a floral element. But hey, that works for me. I'm okay with it. I'm a big fan of just doing what works for you. Like, if somebody makes a layout and you think it's amazing and you want to copy it, you do that. You want to start to finish whatever's in your brain, you do it. Either way, you make a video of it, I'll probably end up watching it. So, long rambling later, here is my finished layout. Again, this is from the SCT 365 class, which I think you can pretty much purchase it anytime during the year if you want to. And there is a Facebook group that you can post and kind of play along and chat with other people in the class. So as always, I thank you guys for stopping by and watching a video on my channel, and I will catch you guys in a later video.